Hello, this is the second part of the 5 discussion, and in this what we're going to do, I'm going to pick up where I left off, but the focus on this time is going to be on jumping to the truth. So we're going to talk about theories of truth, and these are what the material is on in that section. And the first part of this is going to be correspondence theory of truth, and then we will look at the coherence theory of truth. Those are the two most common ones, correspondence theory being the most commonly accepted one. Coherence theory is coming right up after that. And then I'll take a few minutes to discuss what the paper is going to require you to write on for the following week. So to begin, let's look at the correspondence theory of truth. And the basic idea of correspondence theory of truth is that the statement is true, and what we mean by true is that whatever the statement or belief is that a person has to match whatever it's talking about. So think of it, if I make a statement, it is raining out. Okay, the statement, it is raining out, will only be true under the conditions when it actually matches the conditions in the weather, that there is rain and precipitation coming from the sky. If that is not the case, if the statement does not match the reality of the world, then we'd say it's false. So that's the basic idea of correspondence theory. It's really pretty much common sense here is what people would think. What you're going to say is a statement like, my basement is painted yellow. Will be true. I'm sitting in my basement and the walls are yellow. That's the color we put on it. So that makes the statement, my basement is yellow, true, because it matches or corresponds to the way the world is. So one side, your statements have to match the properties of the world. And if they don't match those properties or whatever, the world or whatever you're talking about, then it's false. So that's just the basic idea. It's pretty straightforward. It's usually what people think of when they think of what truth is. But then if we turn to the arguments, the first one is just that. Duh, what else do you think it is? The obvious argument is, well, when we're talking about truth, we're making statements about facts in the world, about a person. If a fact that I am 6 feet tall, well, that's a fact. So when I make the statement, because if you measure me, I turn out to be 6 feet tall, that makes the statement true. It's what we mean by facts and what we mean by truth, that the statements are true when they match the facts. There isn't really much more you can say to present an argument for that, which generally works, but there's some problems with that because it raises questions about what facts are and several other things. But there can also be this other argument, and this one's a little more sophisticated. And this one's presented by this guy named Bertrand Russell. And he was a person who focused on logic and reasoning. And what he noted was that, and this is the basis of his argument, is that truth is a property of a statement or belief or proposition. It's a property. It's not in itself. You don't say a statement is true because it's true. It has to come from somewhere else. So where does that truth, that property of truth come from? It has to be something external to the statement itself. So when I say a statement is true, what I'm saying then is that it corresponds and matches to something else. So his example that he talks is that when the statement, the cat is on the mat, will be true if and only if there is a cat laying on a mat right outside it. It's that property of truth is the fact that's external to the belief. So the only way we're going to be able to get that is if we can match up our statements to facts in the world, and that's where the truth comes from. It's in that external reality away from the beliefs. So to be able to have that as a property of your statements, that property being it is true, there has to be something that is external to the belief itself. And this is what most people are going to hold as the nature of truth. Truth matches the reality of the world. That's the way it is. So if we fairly straightforward, that was really easy to understand. So, but there are problems. Mostly, how do we get access to those facts? That's the biggest problem that exists with this one. And it's that problem that leads us to the next theory. and this is the coherence theory of truth. And what the coherence theory says is there's really no way we can match all the things we know are true to things that exist in the world. Simple example is a square has 4 interior angles that are 90 degrees and all 4 sides are of equal length. Well, we can't draw that. We can't find a fact, an external perfect square to check that against. And then if we jump beyond that to all squares are this way, we'll never find every square that's that way. We can never find any squares like that. So, but we know it's true because it fits within the larger system that is geometry. And that's the basis of coherence theory. It's that those beliefs and the truth of a belief or a statement fits with other beliefs, and if you take that out or change it, it doesn't fit anymore. But as long as it fits with the larger system of beliefs, then we can say that it's true. So in writing, the idea, and this is what this sign is that when ideas fit together, the reader can help the reader understand, yeah, things make sense, they fit together. So coherence theory kind of builds off of that, in that, yeah, we say a belief is true as long as it fits consistently and coherently within a larger system of beliefs. If it doesn't fit, then we say it's not true. So if I have a person who says, I just saw a pink elephant. Well, that idea of a pink elephant does not fit with my larger system of beliefs. I would say the statement is false, and most people's beliefs would not. It would not fit in there. So because it doesn't fit, we know it is a false statement then. Now, turning to some of the arguments that'll look at this, idealists are usually the ones who pick this up and use this theory of coherence, of theory of truth, and they're the ones that argued for it most diligently over the years. And what they note in idealism, that what's real are the ideas in our head. We can't know those external things in the world because the only thing we have are our perceptions of them. So if the beliefs exist externally of the world and they aren't things we can find in the world, they have to rest in our head, and the only thing we can use if they're in our head is the internal consistency with those truths. We're talking about beliefs and statements that we believe to be true, and since we can't go outside of our own beliefs, the only mark of what makes them true then is that internal consistency with all the other beliefs we have. It's a larger system and it's part of it, so that works. And that's the idealist view. That's where this all comes back from. The idealist says what's real are those ideas that we have, and those exist in our head. So the only mark we can have for truth is going to be some kind of internal consistency of all of our beliefs. A different argument, though, is going to come up with this idea. And the proverb kind of expresses it a little bit. But the idea is that there's no way we can have a complete set of beliefs that match up with every state of the affairs of the world. And because we can't make all of our beliefs, and some of them we know are going to be true, we can't find how they would match in the world. We can't rely on correspondence to justify belief. And if we can't rely on correspondence to justify truth, it's not justification, try to keep that language out. We can't use correspondence as a basis of truth because we can't match all of the true statements to actual states in the world. The only thing we're left with is coherence. So that's where we get to this point where there's certain things we know are true, but we just can't get them to match up with things we can experience in the world, and make sure there is that one-to-one correspondence between our beliefs being true and things that are in the world. So wise man never knows all, only fools know everything. Wise man knows, I can't know everything in the world, I can't know every true belief, but I can understand the system I have within it and the limits of that. So the only thing I can rely on, because I can't go outside myself, is the coherence of those beliefs. Those are the two basic arguments for the coherence theory of truth. Now, real quickly, to go through the paper, what we're going to have to do for paper 2, this is going to follow a very similar format to the last one. I'd like to keep the formats the same as much as possible in the class. So the first thing you're going to do is explain the problem of truth in social media. And we started with the problem of, if AI existed, would we consider a mind? Social media people rely on it because they look at it and say, oh, I saw it on the internet, oh, I saw this on Facebook. But the question is that really truth? Who or what theory would say it's true or not true? So if we apply a theory, what are we gonna make of the claims on social media? So to address that question, what you're going to have to do is explain one theory of truth. And you can either choose to explain the coherence theory of truth or the correspondence theory of truth. You're going to have to explain the basic idea of that. Then you're going to have to present an argument for it. So one of those arguments I just went through, either for the coherence theory or the correspondence theory. It doesn't matter. I just need you to explain one and explain it as in detail as possible. So you'll present that and defend that theory then. Then you take that and apply it to the question whether what we can know on social media and what we hear, is that going to stand up to what that theory of truth says is truth. If it doesn't, you say, no, that wouldn't be truth according to correspondence theory or coherence theory. If you think coherence theory or correspondence theory could justify it as saying what's on social media is true, defend it. Okay, you're going to present your own argument for that, just in the same way you presented the argument that if there's an AI out there, would behaviorism say it's a mind, or would dualism say it's a mind? You're applying the theory then to a specific problem, and that's the way I wanted to try to format these papers. And finally, if you have any questions, just give me a shout. I don't know when they're coming up. I've changed the format for the discussion for the next week a little bit. I want you to talk about truth. So you give a statement and then you're going to respond to truth so I can see what it is. But the quiz for Module 5 gives you a chance to try to work through the theories a little bit in the same way the quiz before you wrote the paper gave you a chance to write through the theories of mine and the theory you want to work with. It's my way of getting some feedback from you. But if you do have any questions, just give me a shout and I'll be happy to answer them.